Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome again, Madam Bouchard. You know, I looked at your 5-year plan for CBC, and right at top, you talk about accountability and transparency, which is any organization, those two should be on the top. But yet, to date, you've refused to provide any accountability to Canadians by sharing the numbers of CBC Gem. And that's an issue. We talked about it here with your predecessor, Ms. Tate, and she said, oh, it's going well. We got 2 million on and off viewers, but yet the subscribers vary because of the Olympics. They come on, they watch the Winter Olympics, and then they leave. But why aren't you disclosing those numbers on CBC Gem? I mean, your competitor may be Crave from the Bell Media, and they're trumpeting 4 million. So why would you not disclose CBC Gem numbers to the public? Because you're all about accountability and transparency.
Yeah. So the way people subscribe to platforms such as Gem or Crave is evolving quickly. Used to be everybody was behind a paywall, and CBC was offering a hybrid model, both with TV and with Gem. We were, first of all, with Gem was completely free, and then we added on a tier of subscriber features that were essentially being able to watch without advertising and access to CBC Newsnet. So these are considerations that have play in the negotiations that we have with distributors, with bundling. And these are issues that are discussed under confidentiality when we are negotiating. Now, the fact of the matter is, this is CRTC, which is the body that governs all of the communication, telecommunication, and the platforms, considers this type of information specifically and treats it as confidential. So we have a situation where we've got the Information Commissioner who came to a conclusion, and we've got the CRTC that considers that to be confidential. So we really have a conflict of interpretation.
Hiding it. Are you embarrassed about the numbers of CBC Gem?
No.
Then why don't you come out and just say, here's the numbers that we got? I mean, you started this in 2019, CBC Gem. Mm-hmm. Now you have a 5-year mandate that you released last week. Give us some numbers.
Well, I can give you a number, which is 5,300,000, and that's the number of people who've created an account. That's not necessarily. No, not necessarily. But that number, the number of people who are paying, is a number we keep confidential for competitive reasons.
Yeah, I understand.
And it is validated by the CRTC. So we're asking the court to simply reconcile these two interpretations that are contradictory. That's what.
So how much money have you put into Gem in the last 5 years? Do you know that?
I don't have that number.
Could you bring that number forward? I mean, we had Ms. Tate here glowingly talking about Gem and how it's doing. And we'd like to know how much money you've put into Gem. You have a 5-year commitment here that you released last week. So, I just looked at, you want more children, more newcomers, more youth. You want to get non-users getting involved, and you want dissatisfied users coming on board. Well, how are you going to do that when you're not really accountable and transparency with your numbers?
Oh, Mr. Waugh, I think, Madam Chair, I think our accounts are public. There's lots of transparency around how CBC receives and manages public funds and our commercial revenue as well. More transparency than most. Now, specifically on Gem, I'd just like to point out that there's the platform in terms of technology, and then there's the content.
Yep.
Now, the content is multi-use, right?
That's
it
right.
finds its way on various platforms, to use that term. It can be linear TV, it can be on Gem, it can be on third-party platforms. So it's difficult to circumscribe what you're asking, because,
Could you do your best for the committee? Bring some numbers in the next couple of weeks while we're asking.
The number,
certain-
the number I can talk to eventually, because I don't have that right now, is how much we've invested in technology.
Yeah, the
But,
number
you know, in terms of
invested.
content, that would be impossible to determine
Yeah.
because of the multi-use of
Then
the
just
content.
give us the
And
number
is-
that you've invested into GEM. That would really help, I think. It would help because it's one of your growing platforms. As you mentioned, radio, TV's dying. So could you bring those numbers forward?
I wouldn't say radio is dying. In fact, we are still very successful with radio. But let me see what I can
Bring forward?
bring
Thank you.
forward.
Thank you. I just wanted a clarification, if you don't mind, Ms. Bouchard. You said the CRTC may consider the subscription numbers confidential, but does it forbid you yourself from releasing the numbers, or is that your decision, and your decision only for releasing them?
You're absolutely correct. It's not a ban on releasing information. It's just a matter of what are the conditions under which we are expected to negotiate with distributors. We have discussions with all sorts of distributors for our content, for our platforms, for our apps, and that creates a context where information may not be available to the people you're negotiating with.
So your lawyers today went to court trying to prevent the subscription numbers for CBC Gem. So, I mean, you were very active today, your organization, sending your lawyers ahead saying, no, we're not going to talk about subscription of CBC Gem. Why?
I restate my answer to your previous question. We are in the market negotiating with providers on a commercial basis for distribution. There's information that is sometimes sensitive in those negotiations. We have a regulatory body who recognizes that sensitivity and allows people, businesses that are in this market to consider that information confidential. And we have an interpretation by the Information Commissioner that says that we have not met the standard for that confidentiality. We want reconciliation between those two interpretations. And that's why we asked the federal court to consider the situation.
Okay, you're right. The Information Commissioner a while ago asked for CBC to disclose that numbers. And I don't know what you're hiding. I really don't, because you're a public broadcaster. You're getting the funds from the public, and you're not in competition with Bell Media, Crave, or any of those. And I know the metrics of radio and TV and digital. I don't see the issue of CBC Gem not saying we own 1,500 subscribers. It's been going on for 6 years. I think that's the least. With your accountability and your transparency that you talk about on the 5-year plan.
I gave you a number earlier, which was 5.3 million accounts created. Okay.
Those are different than subscriptions.
I agree. They're different than paying subscriptions.
That's your time, Mr. Waugh. Thank you very much.